Hey, thank you all for joining. We're just gonna wait. We have a couple more folks waiting in the lobby, so we're just gonna admit them in. So we'll wait about 2 more minutes and begin. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. We will begin. We appreciate all of you for taking the time out of your day, your afternoon, to learn more about the Connect One bus rapid transit and recommended route changes. Just to give all of you guys a note, the presentation will be recorded and posted on our website for future review for anyone as well. My name is Biltu Hamda. I am the Community Outreach and Internal Communications Coordinator with Milwaukee County Transit System. I've been working here since 2022. And so we will go into presenting or introducing some of our other presenters as well.
Thank you, Bill, too. And I'm David Loker, Manager of Enhanced Transit, and I've been with MCTS since 2005. I started as a driver, and I've been fortunate enough to climb through the ranks, and now I'm holding a position where I can kind of influence some aspects of our service. And I appreciate being both in the driver's seat behind the desk, but also as a rider. And I really believe in our mission and what we do at MCTS.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jesus Ochoa. I am the planning manager in the planning division of the service development department. Been in this role for over a year now, but been with the company since 2017. Yeah, thank you guys all for taking some time out of your day to learn more about the Connect One and some underlying recommendations.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Bertrand. I'm also in the planning division of the service development department, and I've been with the company for over a year. And thank you for tuning in today.
So for today's agenda, we're going to go ahead and introduce the Connect One bus rapid transit. Just a brief overview of what the BRT is and some of the wonderful new features. Hopefully by now, a lot of you guys have heard about it. And it also represents a $55 million investment that creates a premium level of transit service well beyond what exists today for Milwaukee County. We'll go through additional recommended route adjustments and improvements. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So your questions and comments are needed to help guide this process. We want to hear about your input on some of the services. So at the very end, you guys are all more than welcome to utilize the chat feature. But at the end is when we will be answering questions. We ask that people limit it to about a minute. You can go ahead and use some of the features that we have. Raise your hand and I will unmute you to ask questions verbally, or if you would like to utilize the chat to ask questions, I'll go ahead and read those off and we will go from there.
Thank you, Bill, too. And so again, David Loker, Milwaukee County Transit. I'm part of a team, and we've been working on the East-West BRT or Bus Rapid Transit System since late 2015, and then really in earnest since 2016, beginning with a feasibility study, which we finally broke ground as a construction project in June of 2021. And then here we are, spring of 2023. We plan on buttoning up the last aspects of construction and finally launch this new service this June with the pick change on June 4th, which is Sunday, June 4th. So what is Bus Rapid Transit? Usually it's just said as an acronym, BRT, which, you know, if you don't know anything about it, some people call it the BRT. And we've had to do a kind of a lot of re-education on what Bus Rapid Transit is. And at its core, it is a fast, frequent, and reliable service, aims to be convenient and comfortable. And it uses a package of tools to do that. If you can kind of visualize a light rail system, but without the rails and using a bus and dedicated striping, dedicated lanes instead of rails, you essentially have BRT, if you can visualize that in your mind. So these two pictures here showcase one of our specialized BRT vehicles. That's a battery electric bus there. And then in that slide down on the lower right corner, that is a BRT platform. And you can see it emulates a streetcar platform in that it's raised level, it has a detectable warning field, and I'll tell you more about the amenities that also will be on board one of these platforms. But we're very excited to launch this service. And on to the next slide. So what we're able to do with BRT using this combination of dedicated lanes, raised platforms, off-board fare collection, and real-time signs is provide a service that will run every 10 minutes. And it will get you from downtown out to the medical center in Wauwatosa in 30 minutes. And this is an improvement over what we have with our current Gold Line, which is already a very robust, very well-run route. That arrives every 15 minutes, and it'll get you down to the medical center in a travel time of about 38 minutes, give or take. And I say give or take because when you are operating a bus in mixed traffic and you're pulling in and out of traditional bus stops, there is always the potential for unintended delays, whether it's traffic or dealing with the fare box, that ride can easily go from 38 minutes to 40, 45 minutes. And what BRT proposes to do by using the dedicated lanes and the other infrastructure is give a bus more consistency, take it out of mixed traffic, give it its own lane, and allow us to provide this more premium service at a regular fare. Next slide, please. So where is this BRT going to go? So here is a map of our alignment, or bus route, we shall say. So on the east end, just shy of Lake Michigan, is a terminus at Van Buren in Wisconsin. It heads westbound on Wisconsin over to Holly Road. And then from Holly, it hikes down over to Blue Mound west to 95th, 95th to Wisconsin to 92nd, 92nd up through the heart of the Milwaukee Regional Medical Center, and then west on Watertown Plank Road, where it will have its final terminus at the Watertown Plank Park and Ride, which is also going to be a charging station for the battery electric buses. And each of those dots represents a BRT station, which really is just BRT talk for bus stop. These are enhanced bus stops that really reflect a higher caliber of bus stop. Next slide. So here you can see some of the construction that we have already accomplished. Down in the left corner, you can see at 27th Street, that's one of our BRT platforms, complete with a premium shelter. Kind of if Apple was able to design a shelter for us, this is what we think they would build. So we're very excited to have these. They're just over 20 feet long, and they can keep a good number of people out of the elements. And you can also see the westbound pairing. And 27th in Wisconsin is really kind of the heart of where this BRT is going to touch and connect people, particularly with the underlying 30 and the north-south purple line. Next slide. So as I touched on before, 10 minutes, that's quite a feat for us to accomplish, and it's taken this federal grant capital investment to be able to provide that. And that high frequency, we classify as 15 minutes or better, and BRT would be 10 minutes or better. So we are aiming to provide this during the weekdays, and then a little downtick on the lower peak times on the weekends and the way early hours and the way late hours. But we're going to be running from 4:30 in the morning until 1:30 at night. So it's a very extensive and expansive service. So to dive into the amenities just a little more, if you're looking at this BRT station, and this is a snapshot from eastbound Wisconsin and 45th, very close to Brewer Stadium and the Humane Society. So what we are working to install now is a ticket vending machine. It's basically a cash or credit card option to provide a ticket that will allow you to buy that in advance. And then there's a real-time sign. So if you do not have immediate access to a cell phone or electronic device, you can just look up. It's going to be in that corner of the shelter, and you can see when that next bus is due to arrive. And then there's also a fare validator and a stylized sign that we call a pylon. There's going to be some lighting and illumination so that you can see as you're riding at night that you will be approaching the next BRT platform. And that level of lighting will also provide an element of safety when you are waiting. Low-level lighting will also be within the underside of the shelter as well. And next slide. Oh, yes. And the battery electric buses, we call them BEBs for short. But battery electric buses, they are provided by a company out of Canada by way of Nova Bus. And We're very excited to have these buses devoted to the East-West BRT line. And you will see a combination of these and just a handful of our clean diesel buses on this line when we launch on June 5th. But they will have stylized branding on each bus so that you will know with distinction that it's going to be a BRT Connect One route that you are about to board. So one of the elements that is really crucial to keeping this bus at that speedier travel time is that you pay your fare before you even board the bus. So what we have, I mentioned those ticket vending machines or TVMs, which is basically like a TVM that is there just to produce a bus ticket. Those are available as a cash option, or if you have a credit card or a debit card, you can use it to purchase a paper ticket there. And then once you have that, you will walk over to the fare validator that you see on the right, and it will be able to scan that paper ticket, and that will activate your ride and say that, yes, you have paid your fare. And the same with the WisGo app and the WisGo cards, you are able to tap that at the validator or have it validated by way of a QR code. And what this does is this eliminates the interaction at the fare box when you're on the bus. When we've all been there, when you are queuing behind a few other people at the bus stop, sometimes the fare box might malfunction, or somebody might be paying cash and someone else is paying with a card. So all these things can lead to sitting at a bus stop longer than you would like when you should really be moving on to your destination. So by having all of this fare payment take place on the platform before the bus even arrives, makes everything move faster. And just to point out, this will make that whole boarding process much quicker. You'll have paid your fare already. The bus pulls up. The bus is going to open up both doors. And then because we've already paid our fare, we can board through both front door and back door, and the bus can continue on its way. And this will be an exclusive feature for the Connect One. And also with the WisGo app and the WisGo card, these are very much available in like capacity today with our M card. And the UMO app is already available. And there will be targeted outreach to explain these kind of new systems. But basically, we're going from one carrier to another, but it's all very much the same element of service. Next slide. So yes, just to reiterate again that because we have both the ticket vending machine, we will always have a cash option. And because we have the validator there as well, we'll always have those scannable options by way of a WisGo smart card or using the phone app. And both have merit. And we would love to see everyone on the WisGo platform, and we can tell you some of the more exciting things entailed with that very shortly. Biltu, would you like to say a few things about the new WisGo platform?
Yeah, so with the new WisGo platform, obviously a lot of the prices are being reduced to a smaller amount. So adult fare, regular fare prices will be $2, and that'll be the same with the Connect rides as well. And then the reduced fare prices will also be $1, not only for the regular MCTS all routes, but also for the Connect routes as well. And something new that we are introducing to our riders is something called fare capping. And that is a new feature that MCTS is introducing to the public. It works by rewarding passengers with free rides after they meet the fare equivalent of a daily, weekly, or monthly pass. And the goal with fare capping is to remove any upfront cost barriers that are that may make that is equitable way to pay and ride MCTS buses. And so here's just a quick video that we had kind of just introducing fare capping. I will go ahead and play that. Okay, so I think some folks might have mentioned that they weren't able to hear the audio itself. But the overall point is that fare capping, it is something new that we're introducing, and you will be able to utilize it for Connect as well. So if you, ride the regular routes and you capped at $4, and you decide that you want to hop on a Connect bus because you've already reached that $4 limit, and you hop on that Connect bus, it will be completely free, and vice versa as well. And so there are some upcoming important dates that where we will be going into the new fair transition, some virtual sessions coming up in March, and we'll have some in-person sessions. We have some sessions that are also specific to reduced fare riders as well. And so we invite the public to come and kind of learn more about WisGo. We'll be able to go more in detail about what fare capping is, how to be able to sign up for the card, how to sign up for the app itself, and answer any more like specific questions when it comes to WisGo itself. So we do also have additional sessions for the Connect One Bus Rapid Transit and recommended route changes community meetings. Our next one is going to be Tuesday, March 14th from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Mitchell Street Library. And then we'll also have a weekend date on March 18th from noon to 1 at the MCTS admin building as well. So if you know some other folks who would like to learn more about the Connect One, or if you would like to kind of meet us in person and have that one-on-one session after we do the presentation, yeah, we'll have those as well.
Yeah, so thank you, Bill, too, and David for really um, making the points of this new premium service of the Connect and our new fare collection system. As David and Bill too alluded, this is a huge project. This is a new premium service um, in Milwaukee County, and arguably the busiest corridor in the state for transit. It's a huge investment, and it's nothing of like what we have today in just traditional fixed routes. But with that, that presents an opportunity for us to really look at our underlying routes and say, how can our underlying routes complement the BRT, and how can BRT complement our underlying routes? Where can we find areas that we can improve the reliability of service and make sure that our network works well together, right? And part of that also is, how can we make those adjustments that expand access to jobs and makes those trips quicker and faster, including our new connection with the Waukesha Metro 1 that we'll touch on in a little bit later in the presentation. So the planning team came up with ways to really adjust some routes to complement the BRT and really improve the reliability. As you guys may know, with the Connect One BRT, that means that we'll replace the Gold Line and the name of the Gold Line will be retired. However, there are some other underlying changes that will help with that retirement, if you will. For our Route 30, we really want to improve that service and make it more frequent, especially on the east side where more gold riders will ride Route 30, right? In terms of our Route 21, we want to make sure that Downer continues to have that high frequency service, and we want to expand that service on Downer year round via our Route 21. And then, as I kind of mentioned, the extension of the Waukesha Metro 1 will connect to our BRT at the Milwaukee Regional Medical Complex for ease of connections between Waukesha and Milwaukee. We'll also touch a little bit on some adjustments to our Route 14 and BlueLine. So for our Route 14, we really want to make sure it's more reliable. It's one of the longest routes in the system if you were to stretch it out. So by separating it into two routes, we can ensure that that reliability and it being on time, both for our passengers and also our operators who have to operate the route, is done in the best way possible. So Route 14 will travel, via Humboldt between Bayshore Mall and downtown, connected to the BRT. And then we're introducing a new route, Route 24, which will take over kind of that southern portion of Route 14 between Southridge, but extending it up to the MCTS administration building. And then BlueLine, we want to adjust that to connect at the BRT around Marquette University. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail on some of these routes, starting off with that Route 30. Route 30 will not change in terms of routing, but in terms of service, we want to expand it a little bit more to be that replacement from downtown to UWM. We want to ensure that has more frequent service and that it also aligns well with the Connect One schedule. So anywhere between 35th Street and Van Buren, where the Connect One and the BRT will interline, we want to make sure that that schedule works well so that if you're out on that corridor, you can literally go to any of the stations and whichever bus comes first, you can hop on, right? That's great frequency. Every BRT station that the Connect One will serve will also be a Route 30. So it's very easy of transferring from one route to the other. There will be no change in terms of the service span. It'll continue to run as it does today from about 4 in the morning until about 1:30 in the morning. So as I mentioned, Route 21, the change to this will be that the service will be expanded to year-round service to UWM. If you're familiar with this route today, we do provide service on Downer for Route 21 during the UWM school year. However, we want to ensure that this is a year-round, 7 days a week, and similar service to the Gold Line today. High frequency and service span from 4 a.m. to 1:30 in the morning. And then the Blue Line. So the Blue Line, the major adjustment here is that we wanted to connect to the BRT at Marquette University around 16th and Wisconsin, where there will be a bus station for the connect in each direction. This will provide just an ease of transferring, and as I mentioned a little earlier, the bus stations will serve both 30 and BRT. So if you're looking to go west or east on Wisconsin Avenue, it's almost as seamless as not even looking at your phone. You just know that if you get on a BRT station, a BRT or 30 will come on average every 5 to 7 minutes between the two routes, right? The Blue Line will continue to have its high frequency service as it does today, and it'll run around that same service span, 4:30 to 1:30, which is similar to all the other routes that we just mentioned. So with that, and I'll turn it over to Tom Bertrand, who has a little bit more information on some of the other underlying changes. Take it away, Tom.
Thank you, Jesus. So as far as Route 14, Route 14 is going to be modified into two separate routes to improve the reliability. With the new Route 14 just serving Humboldt Boulevard, and then Route 24, the new Route 24 serving the south side along Forest Home Avenue. The frequency of service is going to be improved to 16 minutes compared to the current frequency, which is about 20 minutes today. And riders can connect to the Connect One BRT at the station at Jackson in Wisconsin, and they can also connect to Route 30. And as far as the service span, it's going to continue to run from 4:30 a.m. to midnight like it is today. And as far as Route 24, on the south side, it will replace the current Route 14 on Forest Home and 16th Street. Service will be extended on 16th to 16th and 17th, from 16th and 17th to the MCTS Administration Building, and the frequency of service will be just like it is today, between 20 and 30 minutes. Riders can transfer to Connect One at 16th and Wisconsin, and also Route 30, with the buses still running from 4:30 a.m. to midnight. And as far as Waukesha Metro, so service along Blue Mound Road to Brookfield Square is going to continue via the transfer to Waukesha Metro Route 1 at the Medical Center. And this connection to Route 1 will open up access to thousands of jobs out in Waukesha County, all the way to downtown Waukesha, using the connection at MRMC, which has been simplified. And I should note that this is also an area served by our routes 92 and 31 as well. Buses will run every 20 minutes on weekdays and Saturdays, with Sunday service being every 35 minutes. And buses will run from 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. on weekdays, and on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And with that, I'll throw it back to Bill too.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all so much. That was wonderful. I know we wanted to take this time to answer some questions. For additional information, we recommend you all to visit our website at ridemcts.com. There is a page that focuses on the Connect One, goes into detail about the upcoming changes. And so I would highly recommend everyone to visit that. I know now we do, one second, want to switch into kind of answering some of the questions I know some folks had asked already in the chat. So I'll go ahead and read them aloud. And then just to highlight one more time, um, for folks that did not hear, we are having 2 more additional sessions on this. One on Tuesday, March 14th, in person at Mitchell Street Library from 5:30 to 6:30. And then another one on Saturday, March 18th from noon to 1 at the MCTS admin building. So I just wanted to highlight that. Those will be in person. Let me go ahead and kind of ask the first question. Let's see. So looks like Amy asked, can you please explain about the clean diesel buses being used in part at the start of the Connect One BRT launch? Is that permanent or temporary? And they mentioned, I thought the goal was to be all electric.
And thank you, Amy, for that question. So the short answer is it's only a temporary measure, but why are we doing that? So Nova Bus has been a great partner in all of this. They're our bus vendor manufacturing those units in Canada, and they work with a separate vendor that supplies the batteries to make them, the fully battery electric buses that they are. And our fleet to be used on the BRT includes 11 battery electric buses. Now, unfortunately, the battery supplier has encountered some supply chain issues, which throughout this project, we've been pretty fortunate. But finally, this is one of those aspects of the COVID supply chain issues that will impact us at the start of BRT. It was very important for us to begin this service on June 4th, and we want to stand by that target date. So for us to do that, as of June 4th, we will have 7 of those battery electric buses on property to use immediately on the BRT. But in order for us to maintain that 10-minute frequency, we really need all those units here. So that's why we're going to start out using the 7 battery electric buses, but then supplementing the missing 4 with the clean diesels. And we anticipate that those remaining battery electric buses will be on property early July. And as the battery electrics rotate in, we will work to rotate the clean diesels out. Very good question, and thank you for asking.
Thank you for that, David. Another person asked, do you have any estimates on total time from west to east?
Absolutely. So our scheduling department's been very busy at pinning this down, and we know that from Van Buren in Wisconsin all the way west to Wartown Plank Park and Ride is going to be 34 minutes. And that last segment from the medical center out to Wartown Plank Park and Ride, it's about 4 minutes we've baked into the schedule there. So if you're going from downtown out to the medical center, it's really 30, but end to end, it's 34. Thanks. I hope that helps to illustrate that.
And then it looks like Rachel asked, will the BRT accept the commuter value pass for fare payment?
Absolutely. Yes, as long as we have the commuter value pass. And I meant to reiterate this before, that any standard fare system that we have for any of the local routes absolutely interfaces with the BRT system. There's no special premium to ride the BRT. It encompasses the same regular fare structure. The only difference is that you're paying before the bus arrives versus paying at a fare box once you are already on the bus. Great question, and thank you.
All right, we have another question. Is there going to be separate fare charge if you need to connect to the Waukesha Metro bus to get to Brookfield Square? And then does the Waukesha Metro bus accept the commuter value pass?
So also great questions. So the way that handoff works today, we already have an interaction very similar. In fact, it's exactly the same. It takes place at Brookfield Square. If you ride the Gold Line out to Brookfield Square today, and you've already paid your fare on the Gold Line, but then you want to get on the Metro 1 to go to Gorky's Corners or downtown Waukesha, what happens during that transfer is you are able to board that Metro 1 bus, showing that you've paid your fare on the Gold, and then you have a seat. It's essentially a free transfer. You've already paid. Now, but let's say you want to take a second Waukesha Metro bus and make another transfer. Well, then you do have to pay a fare for that next transfer from Metro bus to Metro bus. And that is going to happen between the BRT and Metro, except that interaction is going to happen not on the Waukesha County side, but on the Milwaukee County side. So we anticipate that you would have that interaction at 95th and Blue Mound, where the Metro 1 and the BRT will connect, or in the medical center along 92nd, again, where those two routes will intersect. Now, how does that work if you're transferring from a Metro 1 to an MCTS bus? It's the same, but in reverse. You've already paid on the Metro 1, and then when you get on the BRT, if you are asked for a form of validation, your proof of payment from the Metro 1 already suffices. But if you want to make another connection, like from the BRT to another MCTS route, well, yes, then you would have to pay another fare for that second transfer. So the first transfer is free. If you require additional transfers, then it's another payment. Thank you for the question, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for that, David. I also just want to note, if people want to ask questions themselves, feel free to raise your hand at the top. There's a feature where you are able to raise your hand, and I will go ahead and unmute you as well. So it looks like Nicholas asked, a bunch of us in my neighborhood, Washington Heights, are parents who use bikes to get our kids around. Do you have any information on the size and weight of bicycle that can use the interior bike storage on the BRT? There are some child carrying cargo bikes that are just a little larger than a standard bike, and I'm wondering if those would fit. And then any option to bring foldable child trailers inside.
Oh, this is a great question, and thank you for asking. So, way back in like 2016, 2017, when our BRT website was first being developed, um, and other outreach materials, it was a concept to have on-board bike storage. That concept was eventually engineered out. It was important for us to be able to have as many seats and standing room as possible on board the BRT buses. But with that said, we have the same make and model bike rack on each of the BRT buses, the same that you see today on board any of our current fleet, the clean diesel Gilligs or New Flyers. So we have that capability to store two bikes on the front, and then our policy has always been that if it doesn't obstruct an aisle, you're able to bring a third bike on board. That's a great question about some of those oversized bikes that might be used for multiple passengers, like a family bike or a courier package bike. Those, just to level with you, I don't think they would be compatible on, certainly not on the front rack, and there would not be the space on the back rack or on board. But I do love those style bikes, and more power to you. I wish we could bring you along. But I will say the dedicated lanes, you will see certain signs that say bus only or bus and right turn only, but plenty of them say bus bike right turn only. Just know that like bikes are free to use them wherever they are seen. Our drivers will know to pass you with safe distance, and there's nothing preventing a cyclist from using our dedicated travel lanes to their benefit. So I just want to throw that out there as well. And thank you for the question.
David, do you know what the max weight is for bike racks in the front? There was a guest that was asking about that as well.
I don't have an exact number, and I could certainly find that. I have
Okay.
a pretty heavy 70s Schwinn, and I've seen it on board with other bikes. So it would have to be something pretty hefty to move the needle. But I'd be happy to get an exact capacity for you at a later time.
And then we had a guest, Joe asked, sorry if you mentioned it already, but how frequent is your frequent for the Route 30 after BRT is added?
So it won't be it's pretty frequent today. It's about 13, 14 minutes during peak times. We're thinking a little bit more frequent, 12-ish minutes. Not as frequent as BRT, of course, but we but part of our scheduling team's efforts is trying to ensure that where those two buses, those two routes interline, that they interline with enough space that it's very frequent for anyone that's in that corridor. And kind of the beauty of buses in general is that as things change, you can add or remove, or as demand shows, you can do that. So right now we're being proactive to foresee more goal line riders converting onto the Route 30. So that's kind of the reason behind adding a little bit more service onto the 30. But it won't be as frequent as the BRT, but it'll be a little bit more frequent than it is today.
Thank you for that. And then just going back to the bike racks, someone asked to clarify, is there two bike racks, question mark, one in the front and one in the rear?
Oh, no, it's a bike rack only on the front that when it's deployed, it's folded outward, has a slot for two bikes. And then if you needed to have a third, you could bring it on board. But you would have to make sure to hold on to it so it doesn't, topple over or fall into a passenger or obstruct any of the aisles. Great question. I hope that clarifies.
It looks like we have a guest. Chris asked, what happens if cars block, obstruct dedicated bus lanes?
That is a great question. So, with this, we are relying on local police and law enforcement to enforce their ordinances. It's the same ordinance that applies to bike lanes and also dedicated travel lanes in City of Milwaukee that are used by the Milwaukee streetcar. So those are enforceable and citable offenses. But what is kind of a logistics bonus for us is that the buses can simply go around. It's the same sort of detour maneuver that we might have to do when any of our right of way is obstructed. So we have every confidence that local law enforcement will do the best with the resources they have to uphold their local ordinances. And we have a direct line between our dispatcher and theirs, and we look forward to that coordination if and when that happens, because it'll certainly crop up from time to time. But thank you for the question.
All right, thank you for that, David. It doesn't look like I see any additional questions. I still want to give people some time. Wait, I think will the BRT have transit signal priority? Is a level boarding such that wheelchairs can get on and off easily?
Okay, so two questions here. I will say that as far as transit signal priority, our buses and the signals will be able to have the capability to talk to each other. And part of our project has involved the installation of hardware and upgrades of 19 signals along our BRT alignment, and that's both in the city of Milwaukee and Wauwatosa. So that is absolutely one of those tools that we hope to employ. And as far as, forgive me, the second question, say again.
Yep, the second question is the level boarding such that wheelchairs can get on and off easily?
Level boarding. So with level boarding, what we have done with these elevated platforms is that they will ease that passage if you're in a mobility device to board the bus. The way to do it most safely is to still activate that front door boarding ramp. And we have done this by design so that there's always an element of gap between the bus and the platform. And to get too close, there are safeguards to protect the bus from incurring any sort of body damage. You'll see on the face of the platforms a yellow rub strip or rub stick. And that's there as a just in case. If the driver happens to get too close, the sidewall of the tires can rub against that stick and it won't do any real damage. So with that, there's enough of a gap to where a mobility device could not seamlessly roll on. True level boarding, a great example actually is the City of Milwaukee streetcar, and they're able to achieve that kind of seamless, almost gapless roll on, roll off because they have the track guideway so that with precision, it's always going to dock the same way. Because we have buses, there is that element of variable. So the elevated platform does prevent us from having to kneel the bus at every stop. The kneeling feature is a fantastic feature on our buses, and our drivers do employ it quite frequently. But kind of the trade-off of that feature is that it contributes to the dwell time. With this, the bus doesn't have to kneel at all. it just pulls right up and people can essentially just walk on. But to provide that boarding experience for someone in a mobility device, we do want to maintain a policy of deploying the ramp. Where the time savings is kind of brought back during that boarding process is that each of the battery electric buses has a self-securing mobility device system called the Quantum. Basically, it allows someone in a mobility device to board the bus, and then once they're on board, they can secure their mobility device themselves. It's an electronic securement system. You press a button, it lowers an arm, and then it will kind of squeeze tightly to secure at the wheelbase of the mobility device to keep it from moving or shaking. And that whole process allows that freedom of movement for the person in the mobility device to go on and do the securement on their own, and allows it to happen more quickly than it is today with the driver getting out of the seat and having to deal with the straps. Now the driver stays in their seat and the person with the mobility device has that freedom and that element of dignity to do the whole process on their own. I hope I've shed some light on that, and thank you for the question.
Awesome, thank you. Just want to give some time for people to ask some more questions or raise your hand to ask questions. I know we have a few more minutes left in our presentation. All right, it doesn't look like anyone has any additional questions. Okay, never mind. We do have another question. If someone in a mobility device doesn't have full mobility, will it be easy for the driver to help out?
Oh, absolutely. The driver compartment is very much the same. I mean, the goal of BRT is to kind of like keep the driver in the seat and all passengers like boarding fluidly. But whenever there's something where a driver has to step up and take that extra initiative to be courteous and helpful, they're absolutely there at your disposal to help and to assist.
Awesome. Any other questions? And then, like I stated before, this recording will be posted on our website as well. For anyone that wants to go back and to view them, or for folks that have not been a part of the meeting. Let's see. Doesn't look like we have any more questions. So I just want to thank everyone for being here, for attending, for bringing amazing questions. We hope that we were able to answer them for you. And if you have any questions throughout the months before the BRT Connect launches, you can feel free to reach out to us individually. And like I mentioned, we will be having 2 additional in-person sessions as well. And with that being said, I want to thank everyone that presented as well, Jesus, Thomas, Tom, and David. And with that, I will go ahead and end the meeting. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.